Well, as we told you earlier on The 5, new elevators in Ontario, updated with touchscreens, are missing the mark for the blind and those with visual problems. The legally blind say it's a barrier in their day-to-day lives. The province has to be fully accessible by 2025, but elevators with the new keypads technically do meet the regulations because there's Braille on the emergency buttons and a keypad with a raised dot. Now, the Minister of Economic Development says the province is doing its best to keep up with changing technology and standards. Well, joining us now is an advocate for various accessibility issues, David Lepofsky. Thanks for coming in.
Delighted to be here.
Let's talk about the elevators here, because you would think that with new technology and new touchscreen elevators, there would be a way to just, it should be obvious that accessibility issues should just be built into the new systems.
It should be obvious, but unfortunately too often it's not. And it's wrong to say that these elevators comply with the law. They violate our rights under the Human Rights Code to equal treatment without discrimination because of disability. That's a right we've enjoyed for 32 years. And they fly in the face of the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act that requires this province to be fully accessible within 10 years from now.
So we dug into this, and the elevators are governed by the TSSA. And the shocking thing that we found was that these elevators actually do meet the regulations.
They meet those regulations, but the Human Rights Code and the accessibility law prevail over all other laws. So it's no excuse to say that the less important law prevails, because it's just wrong. So that you can't say we've complied with TSSA, so now we don't have to obey the Human Rights Code any more than you could say, well, we don't pollute, so we're free to go discriminate because we obeyed the environmental law.
So if there is an overarching law, the Human Rights Code, then how did this fall through the cracks? How did this get missed?
It fell through the cracks because our government passed a very good law 10 years ago requiring us to become fully accessible. And it started to embark on a strategy to make our society fully barrier-free, all of which is extremely commendable. But in the past 3 or 4 years, they've dropped the ball, gotten distracted by other things, and have not made the progress we need. That's not just our view, it's the view of an independent review that the government itself appointed. So what we need right now is for Premier Wynne, who I think is supportive on this, to put this one on the top of her pile of priorities and say, you know what, we got to grab this one and make sure that these things don't fall through the cracks.
So let me ask you, we're 10 years away now, we're at the halfway mark of this. In your professional opinion, will we meet that target?
Not at the rate we're going now, but we could meet that target if the government listened to the proposals we've made, kept the promises they've made to us, and fully implemented the independent review that they themselves appointed and that reported to them last fall. There's a roadmap to get there, but it requires the government to speed things up. It's not the government is opposed to this. They just need to act in a more strong and concerted way to get us there. Leaving these in silos, elevators and TSSA or whatever, without having standards on accessibility that cover all these barriers is the wrong way to go.
All right. Thank you for joining us, David. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.